Hi Gemini, welcome to your September 2019 Astrology 33 reading. Thank you to those of you who've liked, viewed, shared, subscribed, donated to the channel. I appreciate all of that. And just to let you guys know, I won't be offering personal readings for a bit. It's possible I'll start them up again by the time I post the October videos, but I'm not 100% sure on that yet. And also, as far as the love readings go, it'll probably be around Labor Day weekend when I post those, just to give you a heads up on all that. All right, so with all that out of the way, we'll start talking about your main spread. We have a Celtic cross spread as always. And I'm trying to think. I don't think you got any extra cards there, actually, as I'm thinking about it. And then pulled some oracle cards for you and also a mudra card. So we'll get started with the spread now. Oh, no, I actually did get an extra card in the environment position. I knew there was one somewhere, but yeah. Here we go. It's kind of a weird reading, actually, so maybe it's just the energy that you guys are in right now. In the position of the main situation, we have the Five of Cups. So, to me, this could represent that, there's something that you've needed to let go of for a while, but you haven't done so just yet. Usually, when I do see this, it's not so much a newer energy. Especially, this is a card of Scorpio. And to me, I view it as a blend of Pluto and Moon energy. So this could even be something that might have ended for you guys around the time of the Capricorn full moon, because then we pretty much had that aspect going on, where you did have Pluto and the moon together in that situation. But what's funny to me too, I actually, for whatever reason, and this is probably only going to be for a very small group of you, when I was looking at this card, I was almost thinking of, I was thinking about the Three of Cups energy and then the Two of Cups energy, right? Because we see them very separate there. And the vibe that I got is that for some of you, you might actually be mourning the death of your party life, quote unquote, because you're entering into a serious committed relationship. And like I said, I know it sounds kind of funny and it's probably only going to be for a very small group of you, but that's almost the vibe that I got, where some of you really just, you might have even been given an ultimatum by someone that you're with, where they're like, look, I don't really like how much you're going out and partying, something along those lines. And maybe you do value the connection very much, but you're just like, I have to give up my party life, right? So that could be the way it's actually playing out for some of you. Now, if we consider that Scorpio is the sixth house, for some of you, this could actually be an ending around your work life, maybe even health. You might have had a health scare, for example. Maybe you go to the doctor, for example, and maybe they tell you that maybe you're not as healthy as you thought you were. And you might find out that there's some habits that you've had for a long time that you might have to let go of, whether that be drinking, smoking, just maybe eating unhealthy foods, you name it. There's plenty of ways that could play out. And also, if we look at it as your eighth house, obviously there's a lot going on there with Pluto there and also Saturn. So this could have to do with Saturn shifting forward again as well. Just, really asking you to let go of certain things in that area of life as well. So that's the primary thing I'm seeing there. In the Challenger obstacle position, we have the Tower card. So, not everyone's favorite card, to say the least, but this almost reinforces for me too that thought that I was saying, that for some of you, this might actually be like, let's say this represents your relationship, and the person might say to you, look, if you don't give this up, like I said, whether it's a party, lifestyle, or maybe just even bad habits, right? Even related to the health, maybe you do find out something from the doctor, and like I said, it could be smoking, drinking, whatever, and obviously they're telling you that you might need to watch out with that, and then the person might tell you, well, you really need to let this go, just giving you that ultimatum energy, and you're like, really, what the hell, especially too because this month there's a lot going on with the mutable signs. So we have Jupiter that started moving forward again. I'm recording this on the 18th. So a week ago, Jupiter started to move forward again in your house of relationships. Now we're going to have a whole lot of things going through the sign of Virgo, which is another mutable sign. And then obviously we have Neptune hanging out in Pisces. So those are all your cardinal houses, basically your 4th house, 7th house, 10th house. So those are very important houses. And as all of those planets move through Virgo, they're going to aspect. They're going to aspect Jupiter in Sag in a square aspect, which is a aspect of tension. They're going to oppose Neptune, which is another, energy of tension, and you're just kind of caught in the middle of all that. So you might feel quite literally like you're getting it from all sides. So that could be what's going on there for some of you. Given that there is a lot of energy going through your fourth house as well, I would say you might want to just carry some black tourmaline with you this month. It's fairly inexpensive, and since it's fourth house related as well, especially what comes to mind for me is the fact that we do have hurricane season in the US, for example, and this tends to be when energy can pick up there. So, just try to carry some protection for you if you're in an area that's often affected by those types of storms. I don't necessarily see it being something playing out physical, but, can't hurt to take precautions if you are already worried about that. But for some of you, this could even be something that already happened. And, I do feel that in some way, shape, or form it might have to do with relationships. But this is also something that's not on a sturdy foundation, also crumbling. You might have to reevaluate a certain situation. And like I said, with all the mutable aspects going on this month, that could definitely be an energy that you're in. For whatever reason, I'm not really getting too heavy of a vibe around this, though. So I don't know. You guys can tell me. Good thing is, either way, in the foundation position, we have the Strength card. So this is actually the Major Arcana card for Leo. And for you guys, for one, Leo is actually your third house. And you guys being the third sign of the zodiac, you're the natural rulers of the third house. So this is actually a very comfortable energy for you. And if we also look at this as Leo being the fifth house, we're going to have all of that energy that's moving through the sign of Virgo eventually start to shift into Libra, which is your fifth house, towards the end of the month. So this might even just be quite literally a biting your tongue type of vibe where, there might be some things going on around you and, maybe you're trying to bite your tongue around this because maybe it's going to cause conflict and there's just something within you that's like, you know what, let me not even engage this. People might actually come at you in a bit of a combative way for whatever reason with all these squares and oppositions. And you might be like, really, what the hell is going on? But some inner knowing in you might just say to you, you know what, let me just bite my tongue, let this go, especially because the Strength card can also point to the taming of ego too. So you might be like, you know what, I'm just going to ride this out. Maybe I'm going to bite my tongue here a little bit and not really, speak out, just going to ride out the energy. And, and that's a way that these aspects could actually play out in a bit of a more positive way too, where they might give you that energy to just pause and say, you know what, just hold off, just ride it out. Don't be reactionary necessarily, right? And just feel things out a bit, especially with some of the other cards in the spread that I'll point out when we get to them. In the past energy, we have the Five of Swords. And, with this in the past, this could even be what's coloring your reaction here, which is to say, you know what, let me just temper myself, let me not lash out, let me not be reactive, right? Because maybe in the past you've been in that type of pattern where, someone might come at you a certain way, and this might be your immediate response, right? To just cause a tower moment, like, okay, you guys are the Knight of Swords, right? So that's very easily could be what the case is, right? Some people might come at you or disappoint you in some way, and you might be very reactive and make sure you let them know what the deal is, right? But with this in the past, this could even be, especially since it's another 5 energy, it could be a conflict that might have caused an ending for you. And maybe, it was centered around ego in some way, because that's often how I see this card. And maybe with it being centered around ego, now you're almost looking back at it like, was it all worth it, right? Maybe that's what the tower moment is. You're like, okay, I got into an ego battle with someone, and then it ended up causing an end to a relationship, right? And maybe you're like really looking at it like, was it all worth it in the end, right? And it could be around friendships too, because, this is technically an Aquarius card, but if we think about Aquarius as the ruler of the 11th house, naturally that's house of friendships. That's why I'd say it could have been a friendship where there was some kind of conflict. And, Trying to think if anything else comes to mind with this. Yeah, I mean this is always one of those energies. What I always say is it's one of those situations you go into it where you know there's not going to be a good outcome, but you still go into it anyway. You know, like one of those conversations. You know, like all right, this is not going to end well, but you still feel compelled to have the conversation anyway. It's one of those types of vibes. And what I always say is, you know, it's one thing to have two swords in a battle, right? Maybe you could say that you could have some kind of advantage with that, but what the hell are you going to do with three, right? It's actually going to do more harm than good to hold three swords and try to fight with them than just two. So it's also just going over the top, too. So maybe you ended up winning, right? You won the battle, but not the war. You know, that old cliche, that's kind of the vibe with this card here. In the present position, we have the Eight of Swords. So this is another energy for me that just makes me feel like you're keeping your mouth shut a little bit. You know, you're not being very reactionary. Maybe you were in the past, and maybe this is your way of almost doing damage control on that, right? Like, you know what? I know this is how I handled that situation in the past. Maybe it even comes back around now, right? Maybe that's the tower moment, maybe a connection where there was a falling out. Maybe they come back around and throws you for a loop, like, whoa, didn't expect this person to come back, right? And maybe you're just really trying to temper yourself and see, all right, well, you know, how do I want to deal with this, right? This is actually a Gemini card, too, the first 10 degrees of Gemini. So for those of you born in the last week of May, this might resonate for you a little more, or whatever placement you have, let's say between 0 and 10 degrees Gemini, might resonate with you a little more. And to me, this is almost like testing the water's energy, too, you know, like if we see they have the 1 foot on the water, 1 foot on the ground, it's almost like not knowing what's up ahead too. You know, like okay, on this foot I feel like I have solid ground here. It feels like there's water. I don't know, you know, what my next step should be. You know, so it's very much a kind of caught up in your own head type of energy. Um, Nothing really going on in those degrees either. So I think this is definitely just more of the energy that you're in. And then at the bottom of the deck as well, we see the Page of Swords, and you guys are normally the Knight. So to me, this represents that there's some reluctance or shyness around communicating too, for whatever reason. In the near future position, we have the Six of Cups. So on the one hand, at the very least, you could say that this is actually a positive progression, if I could get it to focus. A positive progression from the Five of Cups energy to start out that we're starting out with, right? So obviously we could see the energy is a lot more supportive here than it is with the Five of Cups. So maybe it actually ends up paying off for you to stay quiet for whatever reason, right? Like I said, with all the squares and oppositions, it might make people around you act out. And you know, if you maybe in that past when people have done that to you, you've just gave it right back to them right away, right? And it might have ended up causing more harm than good. So maybe for whatever reason, you know, someone in the home environment, someone in your work environment, you name it. Fourth and 10th house are going to be very lit up for you. And then Jupiter is going to be playing a role with that as well. So, like I said, it might be one of those energies where you quote unquote might feel like you're getting it from all angles. So, you know, you might just say, you know what, I'm just going to lay low, just let people ride this energy out. And then maybe, you know, as a result of doing so, they might come back around and apologize to you for whatever took place, right? And there might be the opportunity for growth there. So that could be how it's playing out. For those of you where maybe you were the one who snapped at someone in some way, shape, or form, maybe you come to realization about it as those transits continue. Like, all right, that was, you know, kind of bad of me, and maybe that's where that Page of Swords energy is coming in play. Where like, you know what, I need to apologize to this person or this group of people, whatever the case may be, and try to get things back on track. In the position of your influence on the situation, we have the High Priestess. So this is yet another energy for me that points to you going very inward and just really taking the high road. So for most of you, I really do feel like it might have been someone else who had committed the wrong here, and it might be more likely that it's them coming back around to you to extend the olive branch. But obviously, it could play out different ways. Some of you might have been the one, and maybe this is just pointing to you coming to that realization and looking at things from a higher perspective and realizing, okay, that wasn't in my best interest to act that way, and maybe coming forward to make amends. But I'd say at least 80% of you, I feel like this is more that this is just you again being in that quiet energy, looking at things from a higher perspective, realizing, all right, whoever or whatever acted out, I'm just going to let it ride out and not even really, you know, get involved in that type of dynamic, right? Maybe you're like, maybe it is something you've engaged in from the past, and maybe it's been a learning experience for you where you're like, you know what, I'm not going down that road again. It's not worth it, right? So maybe this was some kind of a test in that regard. Because with the high priestess energy, I always point out how it looks like she has her foot on the moon. So it's like having a firm grasp over your emotions, being very much aware of them, but at the same time, not letting them run amok, basically. So, and this can actually point to this possibly playing out in your career setting as well, because I view this as a Pisces card, and Pisces is your 10th house. So maybe it's people, maybe it was some kind of issue in the workplace, right? Where maybe things start to go off the rails there, and you're like, you know what? I could argue with them. Like maybe it was an idea that you presented to them, they shoot it down. You're like, you know what? I'm just not even going to get into it with them, and then maybe it ends up turning around for you in some way, shape, or form as the month progresses. In the environment position, we have the Seven of Cups reversed and the Four of Pentacles reversed. So the Seven of Cups in the upright is actually another Scorpio energy. So here we have again energy pointing to either 6th house energy or 8th house energy. But with it in the upright, I always point out that, for us, we could clearly see what's in these cups, and it'd probably be a lot easier for us to make the decision, do we even want any of those cups or not, right? But this person is quite literally in the dark in the artwork here, right? So it's like someone not seeing something clearly. With it in reverse, to me that represents an ending of that. And then as far as the Four of Pentacles goes, I'm not someone who views it as much of a miser energy as some people. I view this very much as someone who values what they have to this point, and they're really thinking about, do they want, how they want to invest it, where they want to invest it. I view it as like a Saturn meets Mercury type energy. And this is actually a Capricorn card as well. Also the last 10 degrees of Capricorn. So for those of you where, like I said, for those of you, this might even go back to something that took place when the Capricorn full moon was happening. Maybe this is something around there where now there's some movement. There might have been some stagnation. Whether this is actually someone else who, okay, they've made up their mind and they do decide that they want to continue to invest, right? So they're letting go a little bit. Or this could just be the environment's energy and influence on you, saying that now you're not confused and you know where you want to invest your time, your energy, your money, you name it. So that could be how that's playing out there. In the hopes or fears position, we have the Lovers. So this is obviously the major arcana card for Gemini. So for those of you where, like I said, in the beginning, I got that little ping about maybe for some of you, you're like, okay, maybe I got an ultimatum that, hey, the person you're with is like, I don't like how much you're out partying, we're supposed to be in a relationship, I want you to let that go, right? And maybe this is your fear, like, okay, well, this is getting real now, right? I have to really consider someone else rather than just myself, right? Not saying that you're being selfish, but when you're in a relationship, you have to have that give and take there, right? And for those of you where this is more of a hope, this could just be saying that you're just hoping for all this energy to subside. Like you feel the craziness going on around you with that high priestess energy, and you're just like, look, I just want this energy to ride out and me to just be able to just, be myself, basically. So this could just be saying that you want to return to that energy, essentially, for some of you. And in the outcome position, we have the 10 of Wands in reverse. So this definitely represents letting go of a burden. Maybe if you were taking on too much, maybe that's even what it was about too. Maybe you burned yourself out in some way. And maybe that's what this is about, just actually taking that time off, right? Maybe taking some vacation time. Might not be the worst time to do it too, like I said, because those square aspects that we talked about in the oppositions, they can, yes, they can actually make things happen, but it can be a bit of a bumpy ride. And they're pretty much short term aspects. Because yes, you have Jupiter going forward again in your seventh house, which can be supportive for relationships, but these could be those last big bumps in the road as everything moves through Virgo and squares Jupiter. And then, like I said, it's gonna all those Virgo placements are also gonna oppose Neptune and Jupiter Neptune. That square is going to continue, and this month is going to be the last month where it's really at play because Jupiter is going to continue to move forward. It's eventually going to move into Capricorn, and Neptune's still retrograde for the time being. So it's going to become exact sometime this month, but Jupiter's going to keep moving away from it essentially. So that might be, this might be the last month where you're feeling all those big bumps in those areas of life. And then basically, Jupiter will be moving into the last 10 degrees of Sagittarius too, which is what this card represents. So that could even just represent an ending to all of that. All right, so let's take a look at your oracle cards now. The first one we have is TikTok. There's the artwork for it, and it's number 30 in case that has any significance for you. Let's see what the messages say for that. All right, it says timelessness, divine timing, immeasurable time. The oracle's message: when humans created time, everything changed and contracted. People have come to look at life in a linear way, imagining that the past is behind them and the future is ahead of them. But what if this isn't true at all? What if everything, creativity, beauty, chaos, and order, were happening now, in a glorious timelessness? You have all the time in the world to co-create the life you desire, so release your agenda. Let go of your need to shape each moment to your expectations, knowing that what is yours will never be withheld from you. Miracles are right here, right now, and always show up when you need them, right on time. So that's funny there, because it almost has that letting go energy. And like I was saying, I feel like like I was saying with the biting your tongue vibe I was getting with the Strength card and the Eight of Swords and then the High Priestess. And then we see the Ten of Wands reversed in the outcome. This could definitely represent for some of you just letting go in general. Maybe you've come to a higher realization. And if not already, maybe with all these transits. Like that Tower card could even represent something happening with your crown chakra too. So maybe that's what's going on there. The relationship message says love, the fulfillment of desire, and even the body's reproductive cycles have their own timetable. Some things are preordained and cannot be coerced. Everything has its season, its divine and appropriate timing, especially when it comes to matters of the heart. Remember that you always have enough time for love, to find it, to nurture it, to give and receive it. Its clock is eternal and ticks according to the beating of your heart in perfect rhythm. Isn't that wonderful to know? Love is always right on time. So again, that's funny too. Like I was saying with the whole, for some of you, like having to let go of that party lifestyle, right? And then like, oh, okay, like almost reluctant to do so, but almost, and this might even be a relationship that's not there yet, but maybe you've just outgrown that, right? But there's still that reluctance to let it go because it's been such a part of your life for so long, and you're like you almost feel with that High Priestess energy that there's a relationship looming, but in a way you're almost dreading it, right? But it's saying, if that Six of Cups energy in the near future position, that this would be the right time for that to happen, even if it does represent someone from the past coming back around. All right, the prosperity message says your prosperity is co-created by your endeavors as they occur in human-made time and the eternal efforts of your most important manifestation partner, Spirit, in a divine, measureless time. So keep doing what you're doing. Stay positive and make a commitment to remain in high vibration thoughts and feelings. If you heed the message of this card, it will seem as if you will align with your highest calling and your highest good in no time at all, like magic. So what's all the fuss about not having enough time? The prosperous life that is yours will never pass you by. Well, it's funny there too, because if anything, I feel like you're not pushing it all this month. And maybe it's a result of you feeling these energies that makes you, so maybe you have been pushing it. And maybe that's been the problem, maybe trying to force things has been causing this Five of Cups dynamic. And maybe that's what it's saying, that maybe you finally realize that and take a step back and things start to unfold for you. And, like I said, with that high priestess energy, it just might be something that you feel deep down, even if you don't see tangible evidence of it yet. It's just a vibe that you're getting, maybe. All right, and then the next card we have is from the Spirit Animal Oracle deck. It's Coyote Spirit. It says, trust in divine detours. There's the artwork for it, and the number is 16, which what's interesting there is that's also the same number as the Tower card. So maybe this will give us a bit more insight about that. All right. It says, do you find that you are being led on a strange detour in your life right now? Does it seem that what appears to be the next right action and the right choice, best situation, or fabulous relationship unexpectedly turns into the opposite, or just disappears into thin air as if you've been tricked? Coyote Spirit's trickster energy is designed to bring you into situations to teach you lessons you have forgotten to learn. Perhaps you need a taste of failure before you experience success, a need to feel disappointment before you can truly appreciate the joy, love, and prosperity that is coming up for you. Perhaps you are revisiting a pattern you forgot wasn't in alignment with the life you are intending to co-create, being reminded that gratitude, not complacency, will keep you awake and aware of all that is available to you in this moment. Coyote Spirit reminds you to laugh about the unexpected twist, to develop humility and gratitude while releasing your attachments to the form of your desires. Even when you suddenly find yourself on a detour, wondering when you will get back on track to manifesting what you desire, remember that Spirit has a plan and wants the best for you. Trust in divine order now. Coyote Spirit is a divine helper. No matter what seems to go astray, things are exactly as they are supposed to be. So that was a pretty cool message there, especially with that Five of Cups. It might have been some failure, whether others perceive it that way or only you perceive it that way. Maybe this is saying just getting over that. And like I said, you have that five. Doesn't look like it's very fertile, right? Just nothing that could be done with those bill cups. But then as time moves on, we see the six there, right? So could just be saying that, you got to give time for things to play out. All right, and then the last thing we have is a mudra card. So this is the mudra you guys got for this month. It's the Mahashirsha mudra, and the keyword for it is relief. All right, and let me try it. There we go. So I'll hold this up for a bit so you guys can, take a screenshot of it or pause it if you want to read information on it. And then also, since I can't fit everything in the frame there, I'm just going to move it up a bit so you can see the rest. But yeah, it says relieves headaches, reduces tension in the eyes, breaks up congestion in the frontal sinuses, and improves mental clarity. So maybe that can be of some help for you guys, especially, it says improves mental clarity. But like I said, it almost feels like you just have this deep knowing somewhere. I don't know. I'm surprised we didn't get that oracle card. But if that sounds like a mudra that would be helpful for you, I'll actually put that in the description of the video as well. And we'll wrap up there, guys, and I'll see you all next month. All right, bye.